Hey dudes, it's your friend, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Come join me in the circle with my bearded brother, Howling Buds, the poet laureate himself, Stony Alpinist, and of course, the better half of Frapple and my friend, Johnny Apple. Pass to the left and let's have some fucking fun.
Dude, it's like we're professionals. All right, here we go.
Dude,
This
you
is
know
the
what
third
makes me
time we're
laugh?
pressing fucking
And
start.
scene.
Just go.
This is welcome to the circle. The best thing
circle.
about this is on the first two video attempts, I was on camera, and that mood has shifted. So I no longer will appear on camera, which is a bummer to everyone. But nah, I don't really care. Nobody gives a shit. Anyhow,
You were
Howling?
glorious looking today, dude.
oh, thank you. It was the shirt and hat combo.
Yeah.
It was I was really showing my pride. Howling,
What up, everyone?
I like your outfit,
Thanks.
the red. Stony,
Tip of the hat to you.
also like your outfit as a Pepsi
Why, thank
fan.
you. Why, thank
Johnny, you know I always like the way you look. How you doing?
I'm good. I had a fucking mosquito or something.
I figured that's how I'd start opening these circles is slightly sexually harassing my co-hosts.
Right.
We don't have an HR here, and I'd like
It's
to prove
no
that
harassment
point.
if you don't complain. It's not harassment.
Exactly. I get away with a lot. Anyhow, how's everybody doing, man? We're recording earlier than we normally do.
I'm
so
good. It's nice and fucking hot outside. So
you. Yeah.
Yeah, is
How
that
do you say
Stoney
nice and
started
hot?
to mention being outside and fucking gardening. It's like I got to do a little bit of that, but I had
Yeah.
a job this fucking morning. I had to do.
ooh?
Barely got any fucking gardening in, but I did do some crazy shit. But I want to hear from Stony first because he
You've got
actually
a
got to do
week
some gardening
of like literally house building. You've built communities in a week this week, and you're like, I didn't get anything done today. Yeah, bro, we've got enough fucking to talk about. But Stony, you did touch on finally getting outdoors.
Yeah.
Much needed. Has it been constantly spring in Chi-town? Is that what you guys like calling it? Chi-town?
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, it went from nice spring to like bloody hot to like fall again, and then back to like we're heat index of like 105 or something today. It's like 100 degrees, 80% humidity. Yeah, so it's been back and forth. I had some starts sitting out on my table hardening off for like 2.5 weeks because I kept taking them back in. Because we would get a cold snap of a chill at night or big storms would come rolling through. So yeah, we're finally into like full on summertime. I am way behind the ball with getting starts into soil. So I finally got off my ass yesterday and dug out and made a new garden bed out off of a little rock area that I've got a bunch of things that have been growing there for a bit, and got some sunflowers planted into it. So staged them out. I've got the teddy bears. I think that's the new one that everyone's been hearing about.
Those are fun. They're cute.
Yeah. Super
What are those
stoked.
now?
They're called teddy bears.
Sunflowers?
Yeah, teddy bear. They look probably, I don't know. The closest thing I can explain them to is almost look like a dandelion in a sense, but just much more finer leaves. So it's not like
puffy. It's awesome.
Yeah, they kind of look like a Dr. Seuss sunflower. We're on, and so what was that, right?
Oh, sorry. I somehow muted myself like a genius. I was saying that I have also planted sunflowers, and mine are they're like the ring of red or something like that. I can't remember the exact name. Those have bloomed, and those were the first multi-head that I planted.
Yeah.
And they are phenomenal. Like I've got two Hopi that are just now getting their heads, but I think I will only do multi-head from now on because it is so much better.
And I'm telling you, all you got to do is pop off with your fingernails. Just when they start to wilt off, just snip them off a little bit back towards the node, and they will just keep going and keep going and keep going, and they will spider off of each other. Yeah, they're great, man. They turn into a bush, and they typically will flower longer continually over. And then I think last year, towards the end of the season, I gave them a big dose of like a bunch of bloom stuff. And they rebloomed and went crazy again because we kind of get like this spring, bloody hot summer, back to spring again, and then to fall. So sometimes you can get ornamental flowers to re-veg and reflower themselves.
Dude, I had it happen with a fucking citronella.
Yeah. Yep.
Citronella
That's really
is
cool.
normally not a fucking. And then we just went and picked up some new one this year because the mosquitoes are getting bad and shit. So I was like, I think I had it somewhere over here. And I walked over there. I was like, yep, underneath the apple tree. I think it was about in here. And I looked down and I said, no fucking way. And there's these tiny little leaves starting to fucking come up from the citronella. I was like, no way. And I reached down and grabbed the leaf and I was like, holy shit, dude, this is
cool.
a fucking annual plant that survived out here.
Yeah.
I was freaking stoked. So I planted the new one right next to it. I was like,
awesome.
Keep going. This is
you got
cool.
Going on that, Johnny. So you got a bunch of seed packets too recently, right? Didn't you? You're doing more native flowers or wildflowers?
Yeah, I don't know if my lawn overgrew whatever was wild in my lawn overgrew because I just tossed the flowers in and I think that shit grew up first. So I've seen some like buttercups and wild daisy looking stuff and definitely some wild shit that I haven't seen in my lawn before. But this is the first year I've really never fucking even broke out the weed eater yet. I mean, I've laid it down with the hedge trimmers just to lay it down so that I could put compost over top of it. But other than getting stompled on by the dogs, ducks, and fucking chickens, it's been going wild.
Yeah. And it's
do you do anything other than just the sunflowers? Have you considered like a perennial type garden or an herb garden?
So I've got I just throw the sunflowers in for fun, because they're quick and easy. But this year, let's see, I've got probably 4 or 5, and of course they're escaping my brains now. I know one of them is the Bells of Ireland, is a perennial one that will have little tiny flowers and kind of goes low and slow. And then my dahlias are growing again. Snapdragons, those perennials. Like
Snapdragons is the actual terms. Those are little orange ones that pop and fucking.
They just they create these little bells, and they're gorgeous flowers, and I've got probably 6, 7, 8 different colors that bloom.
Oh no, shit!
Yeah,
because we got some like orange ones I thought that were pretty wild, and Jess calls them snapdragons. She literally will pop them in between her fingers.
Yeah, they're fun. And then I've got some other like mulberry rose flowers that I'm growing as well. Some clematis. And then there's one other one that was a perennial flower, and those are the ones where I'm like, this year I may actually just pot them and grow them in a gallon because I took them from seed, and then next year put them into the actual ground. I still have a ton of soil. I just harvested my garden, let's say a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I just finished up the dry and cure, bucked and bagged it out today. So I now have all this soil that's been drying out for 2 weeks that I would just want to get out in the yard and get some of the dirty stuff that's out there. Not dirty stuff, but it's pretty clay, and make a little super soil. I got some castings. I finally found like some castings at one of the big box stores for some of my outdoor stuff that looks true castings, and they're nice and soft and real and OMRI listed, and just grabbed a bag while I was there. But that I'm going to mix up a batch of soil for there and get some of those outdoors going. And I took those same castings because it's not the super fine.
Are they from a local source?
No, they're big box. So that's caveat of it. I knew that they were going in the outdoors. So a little questionable, actually. Sometimes at my bigger box stores, they have like non-name brands. So there were like, and then you look actually where it was made. It's like, oh no shit, it was made somewhere in New York. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was from somewhere around here, but it was pretty well packaged. And my guess is that because it had that OMRI listing, it probably, since they've done all that vetting through it and it was pretty well packaged, that it's probably not a local one. Because to your point, like, you can almost see the difference in those local ones. And, I still have mine for my indoor garden that are still technically in that soil, right? They're just as it gets upcycled. Plus, the stuff that's out there now is been sitting in my basement for over a year now, and that was some of the original soil that I started with that I just kept. And then, like, I'd bring it out, dump it into a big giant tarp, and do the folding method and kind of re-amend it. And I kept doing it, and then I played around with lightening it up and fluffing it and So it was all out of whack. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw it out there, mix it up with some clay, give it a good dose of castings, and then use that to fill up all my beds out there. So I probably had, I mean, I hate to say it because I sometimes feel like I'm a damn dirt collector, but I probably had 5, 6, 7, 8 bags of soil that went out there, just saved them. So, and all the little clay balls from the bottom of my auto pots went into there too. So, just upcycling. That's what I'd always envisioned from the beginning of my garden, was that, I'm just going to invest in really good soil and I'll run it once and then maybe twice. And then I learned my lesson running it on the third time where it was out of whack. And because I was using such small containers, I couldn't use the Johnny tech of, those big giant beds and re-amending them and keeping the moisture in. So I got to that spot where it's like, all right, I got to re-amend, got them all out of whack. So restarting from fresh, I think, about 6 months ago now, 7 months ago. And of course it was like, I think it was one of those slow dips, when your soil, you don't realize it because you keep using it. And then you find yourself chasing yourself out of tail, and putting it all new fresh soil was like, damn, okay, now I remember. So big difference. But the core to that to me was, I knew from the very beginning, and I set out with the intention of taking all of my soil from the garden and upcycling it into my exterior gardens, because it's still incredible mulch at this point, highly nutrient dense, bioavailable stuff in there, probably some good worms and castings are naturally in there. So why not start it up for your outdoor garden? If nothing else, you can use it as just like, treat it just like a goddamn top dressing. It's one thing that I've talked to people about before. They're like, oh, well, that'd be a lot. Well, if you make 15, 20 gallons of a heavy top dressing and scratch it into all your garden beds and water that into it, it's no different than what we do to our autoflowers or photo periods, whatever, our cannabis in general. So I was like, one thing leads to another, right? Everything just kind of translates. You get one thing makes you doing one makes you better at the other, right? Growing my cannabis has made me a better outdoor gardener, less worried about things. Working in the outdoors makes me focus and realize how important parameters and to get everything dialed in, and how important that is at the end of the yield time. So, because eventually it's going to be time for a new light, and I'm going to be hitting howling out.
What a circle back.
He's one of the best, man.
No, it's coming up, and it's one of the things that I have been wanting to pick Howling's brain on, because I know it is one of them. And we can come back to my garden and what's going to be going into the next one down the road, but not for this one, Howling. So I'm not going to put you totally on the spot, but I've been running this the Grower's Choice ROI 420, right? And so I'm now almost 2.5, 3 years into this light, nonstop running. Sure, I'm seeing differences. I haven't pulled out my par or done anything like that recently, but I know I'm feeling the difference in it. And there's so much technology.
You think so already?
I don't know. That's my question to you, dude. I guess that's the first place that I'll start. Am I just ridiculous and starting to anxiety worry myself and prepare myself for another massive investment into my garden? Or should I plan on getting another year or so out of this fucker?
I mean, if you haven't been dissatisfied,
go till it dies.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends. If you've been satisfied with what's being produced under it, and unless you see diodes burning out, I don't know why you would replace it.
Yeah.
It's only if you just notice something goes off and you actually measure it and hey, I cranked this thing at 100% and it's still not giving me the intensity I need. Okay. Or you want more power or a different spectrum or something, but
if anything, it would be the newer technology around the spectrums. I'm fascinated around that, but I have not done anywhere near the poking of research into it. And I guess I had kind of just to contextualize, I did kind of have this mindset of I'm going to run this thing until it dies. but I didn't want to like have a jump into the conclusion of like, oh shit, now I've got no lights in there whatsoever for it, because all I have is like a couple little bridge lights that would make it, and then I'd be making this massive investment. And as my brain works, I don't want to make an investment like that without too much overthought to it.
And they do lose efficacy over time. Like, I mean, it just depends on the quality of the diodes that they got. Because even like when all these manufacturers are like, oh, we got like the Samsung diodes, they are not all created the same. Basically, they're within tolerances and they get binned, and then it's basically whoever has the most money gets the best bin of them. And so even though like, not that they're bad quality, but they just there might be something with them that they're producing a couple percent less intensity, so they don't get sold at the same price. And some manufacturers grab those. So like, but for the most part, they're very close together in quality. I think Migro did something they had someone send them a light that they've ran for nonstop for a couple of years, and I think their lights only lost a couple percent intensity, which is not a whole lot over the grand scheme of things. So like, these lights can last a while, especially a decent brand one. I think you're more worried about the driver than you are the diodes. So I don't know. Maybe if you're ever looking for like something better, like that's a good reason. But if that thing is still producing the flower,
that's a dangerous reason, my friend.
It is a very
that's an expensive, like fun little search, right? Because I guess to take it back, I'll circle it back to buying it from the very beginning. Is that I knew in that time frame when I was doing my research that it was important to invest in the initial light, and that was going to be my most dollar spend on everything was going to be percentage wise into my light, because I knew that was going to be my investment into it. And at the time that was probably a little bit outside of the range of my budget, but I saw it as like, you know what, like this is going to be the best. It's going to be the most, and even it's higher than what I technically need for the space I needed. And then therefore its usage, like when you say it drops a couple percentage, I guess in my mind, like any other consumer would imagine a light like over that period of time. I mean, like think about if you just left a light bulb on for 2 years. Like I would anticipate the thing flicking out on me every so often. I would anticipate more than a 2% drop. I guess as a consumer, I would almost think like 20%, 25%. That's kind of where I was like, am I losing that 25%? Not measuring it.
Well, that's where diodes, I think, are different than like elements.
Right.
Because I don't think diodes burn up the same way that fucking elements used to.
So they don't reduce in there.
As long as it's a quality light and you can keep them cool. I tried to say cold and cool at the same time. That came across really fucked up. I figured I'd get to it before Rev would. No, as long as you can keep them cool, which is why you have that heat sink, which is basically the aluminum part of it. And if the bigger fans it has, the cooler you can keep those diodes, the less likely they are to burn out. So if it's a quality light to begin with, it's not going to burn out the way.
Yeah, I mean, like just imagine these facilities. You think they're replacing their lights every 2 years? Like they can't afford to do that. They can't even afford to buy the lights to begin with, let alone replace them. So they last a while. I think. Yeah, I would run that thing if you've been happy with it. I would run that thing until it dies on you.
Yeah. And to your point around the cooling of it, Johnny, where I've got one of those, I think it's like 12 or 14-inch Hurricane fans with the front of it off, and it hangs just so that about a third of the wind path is directly over the aluminum bars across my driver.
See, I always have. Every one of my tents has a fan at the top blown across the top of the light.
Yeah.
And so actually, I mean, it's just to save the light too, but I'm always needing a little heat in the tent at some time. So it just kind of circulates it back down. And
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you don't want microclimates grow.
Yeah. That's the reason I keep a fan up there is you just don't want to have an excessive amount of heat just chilling at the top, especially in the summer around here.
No, I used to run my, I had my 5x9 or whatever it was, that enormous tent, the big Gorilla. I ran my air scrubber inside. So I ran my carbon filter was on the inside of my unit, and I felt like that pulled a lot of the heat off of it, especially if I had the temperature set and I'd move the But anymore, I just have the other end connected to it. So just the hose and it's exterior. So I haven't been keeping it on the inside of the filter. So that does draw off some heat, but I'm sure that keeping that giant oscillating fan up there has kept the temperature down. And that's probably what's extended out this light. And I know, to your point, that some of the more cost-effective ones, because I don't like calling them cheaper, because I think that you can still get quality lights for a very inexpensive price. They just may not last as long. So they just may not be the most economical issue of them. Sounds like the problems are almost always with the drivers on them and them going out bad. Burning up and getting too hot, or just miswired or something along those lines. So, and I've also seen a lot of these kits now. Like I've seen a little bit starting to pop up, and there's this little rumble around kits now that have the optional sidebars, right? We remember when those came out, it was like a year ago, when there was like little 100-watt sidebars that popped out and they were hot and everyone spent a lot of money on them. And then all of a sudden you started seeing the advertisements for, use them for your little clones, or using them for this or for that. And now we're starting to see some of these like giant bar underlights that come as a kit, a bolt-on kit. I messed around with some side lighting and under lighting and that sort of stuff with the big tent. I did see some, but I don't know if it was necessarily like, that the juice was worth the squeeze. But, we're starting to see some more of these kits. So I don't know how long you've been tooling around with them. So what are your thoughts on some of these under lights? And
they're cool. I'll just get it out of the way. I say they're pretty fucking neat. And it's definitely proven for commercial facilities to boost the quality. Even if the ultimate yield is the same, the quality of the flower that you're going to get I think it's been proven over and over again that it is better. It takes like your C buds and makes them, it's not going to make them like A+ buds, but it'll make them a B or a solid A-. And those are good to sell for these facilities instead of just taking it all and putting it into edibles or something, or pre-rolls, now they can get a better price on it. But you have to also look at the facilities that run it. They're running well dialed in, trained plants that they optimize the canopy to allow like the best dispersion of the light from up and bottom. And even then they still struggle with them because it's a whole new paradigm for how you're lighting your canopy. And I think I have a set and I ran them one time and it was interesting. I don't know if it really, my LARF is usually pretty good anyways. It's not like terrible. So as far as what I observed, I don't know if it really improved it much. I still smoked it. It was still good. I definitely could see that there was maybe a little bit more frost, more trichome production on the lower bits, more developed trichomes. I just stopped using them for the last couple of grows though, because unless you really have the plant morphology dialed in, you have your upper canopy lighting dialed in, you're adding a variable that's like, it sucks to deal with. And it's so like there's just the microclimate alone, because we like these facilities, they're growing on tables and they might have a 4-foot tall plant. And they have the vertical space in some cases to be able to do that. So to be able to put an under canopy light on there is enough room between the table, the light, and the under canopy to where they can get airflow under there. And so they can really cycle that out. But like at home, when we're growing in like 5-foot tents or something, you don't get a whole lot of space in between the upper canopy that you want to keep and the soil level. So you create like this hot pocket of air. I didn't like that. I didn't like sitting there taking 100-degree air sitting right on top of my soil inside when the upper canopy is 72 degrees, but the soil can is 100. It's like you're just asking for trouble at that point. Microclimates are what gets you that mold pressure and pest pressure.
Well, I think, and also when you look at the commercial production, so there's a lot more hands doing plant care, doing plant training. Right. So the trellising is usually minimum 2 levels. Most go at 3 levels. So there's daily spacing, there's daily movement of those. So if anything, they're really, like the theory of kind of starting softball early on in veg, then you go to beach ball on the inside of it, or basketball, then you get to beach ball just before true flower, that final finish flower. that theory of pulling all of that out there will take care of a lot of that lower larf. Yeah. And so adding that light into that lower level does create a variable. And then oftentimes most of those strains and most of the lighting and irrigation systems are based on a DLI. And that DLI comes from those that overhead light. So like some of the undercarriage stuff, I think it's probably more interesting for some of the home grows or smaller scale operations, to your point, because you are, no matter what, if you're going to put light and spectrum on the underside of it, you're going to get those lower buds to create more bulk into them, and they're going to frost. You're going to get more energy out of them.
But like my problem is that, especially for like the home grower, that a lot of times they're adding the under canopy probably into flower after that canopy is already developed. The most underdeveloped piece of that plant is the lower part of the canopy, because everything's growing on top and on top and on top. Mm-hmm. And over time, it's getting less light. Those leaves and everything are not adapted to like all of a sudden blast them. And these lights can get pretty strong, especially when we're growing these shorter plants. They're pretty close to the under canopy, and you're then blasting the most underdeveloped, like as far as leaf development. You're not only blasting the bottom of the leaves, which is the most inefficient surface. There is photosynthesis happening. It does have receptors and everything. They will take up the light, but they are definitely not as efficient as the top of the leaf. So you're taking underdeveloped leaves that are not efficient to do it, and this all of a sudden blasting them. And I say all the time, like, just turn down your light, stop hitting the gas pedal, and then someone's going to go put under canopy light on there. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the hell? You just hooked up the NOS tank. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, you have no idea how to drive yet, and you're hooking this thing up. And I just don't think, I think there is just so much better yield you can get if you focused on that top of that canopy and your airflow and maximizing light intensity, or think about these lights that, and like to offer different spectrums or all these variables you could play on the top of the canopy. Most people haven't even scratched the surface there, and they're going to add under canopy and just like, oh my God, I can get more yield. It's like, your top yield sucks. Like, why are you doing this?
And you know, what happens is once you start adding too much of that light, you start throwing the nutrient cycle off.
Oh yeah.
And so you are now messing with DLI. You are now messing with the VPD. Because you now have to adjust your irrigation because that plant's going to drink more. If you've got more photosynthesis going on, it's got more energy going, it's going to drink more. So now so to your point, you add one of these elements into it, one of these variables, it now will have an impact on all of the others. And, you know, most people kind of start out with just adding it into the underside of it, and really you need to be lowering what's above it to accommodate for what's below it. And then you probably need to worry about exactly. You got to figure out your true percentages and really and take your DLI back, because you're adding stress. So
that's the thing. It's like you're adding stress to this lower area that wasn't. It is the plant has intentionally grown in such a way that lower part is not adapted to stress. It gets actually less stress down there, and then now you're gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna stress you out with some light again. And it's like, what the fuck? That's why I started looking into. I mean, not that a home grower would ever care about this, but I do, is the leaf area index, and where you take like 10 points on the upper canopy, 10 points mid canopy, and 10 points of single point light intensity measurements at the top, at the lower, and at the soil, the medium level. Mm-hmm. And then there's like an equation you feed it into, and there's a ratio of this. And so it helps you understand the light penetration through your canopy, and you have to optimize that. And like, if you're doing that shit, you know how. We'll get to
who in the fuck?
It's pure. It's for the home grower. It's just pure nerdery. All of this is just nerdery. It's things you can do, and do I think it ultimately matters? No. We have seen people grow some amazing things with the cheapest damn lights off of Amazon. This is just all nerdery at this point, and.
We had that one Australian dude growing autoflowers in a fucking like battery powered car or some shit. What's that?
Yeah. At the very beginning of the show, he was popping in and he was showing off like he basically built like this little space bucket, but it was all powered off of his battery on his carb and all this mobile stuff. It was really, really cool. But he just one of the hardest things about growing like one of the hardest things to achieve with growing that will really help your plant is consistency. And I cannot imagine you get any sense of consistency when you're constantly moving locations and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, man, I think, and you just bring up something. I think that's the last point I'll make before I put Johnny to sleep. Is these facilities, they're running plants multiple cycles in a row. They're running clones off these plants, and so they have a lot of experience of understanding what impacts them and how they grow and how to optimize it. So then, yeah, at that point, once you've done that, you know, by adding this light, what you may have to, you might watch the plant change when you do it. And you'd be like, oh shit, I got to back off, or I got to, or I increase it. Like, they know the plant so well that that's not a variable to them anymore. Yep. We don't do that. And I mean, arguably anyone that's like taking cuts and running the cuts are still not doing it near the level that they're doing it, where they run for years, they run the same cut of something. They know that plant inside out. They know the slightest little variable they change. They know how to change the plant.
Yeah. And
that do it. Okay, great.
The reality is the one of the major priorities is the nutrient cycling in the irrigation, and the light is, you know, pretty well fixed variable, because that is one thing that you know is going to stay consistent and fixed. It's everything else, all the other environmental things that you have to keep in play, and then the other environments are pretty well easy to dial in. It's the nutrient cycling that comes down to each plant. That's where the drift happens, but that does have such that huge impact on that light. To your point, man, they spend more energy focused on other things, other variables that they can control, rather than trying to add more lighting into it, because it's expensive, right? You know, you increase your lighting, you increase the energy of the flower, you have to increase your nutrient cycling, and you increase your water, and you increase everything. So it's a delicate dance, So, but you know, for my little garden, I'm just going to be running an auto pot. 4 little auto pots filled with some fun goodies. Not going to be running. I'm just going to take the standing advice since the beginning of the show and stick with my fucking light, and not try and go down some rabbit hole to invest in thousands of dollars, or close to $1,000.
Being a cheapskate isn't always a bad thing, man.
Well,
sometimes
cheap and charming,
you get
as a
lucky.
Good Austrian chef will always be.
That's right. Now, before Johnny's ADHD brain explodes, we should move on to a subject that he has any interest in. Johnny, I'm going to need some updates to have all three of us here on how your ark's coming along there in your backyard.
Yeah, right. No. It's good, man. I've pulled 6 or 7 males now from that autoflower experiment with all of Grateful's fucking crosses there.
Wow. I know. Everyone was sitting there, and I was like, you what with them? I thought you wanted males, but we thought you were talking ducks or chickens.
Yeah, dude. Thanks, dude. I'm glad you caught that too, Rev, because he said arc, and I was like, all right, we're talking ducks. And then Johnny went, I ripped off all the males' heads.
Oh, no.
They read a different Bible in New York. Noah's Ark was just full of plants. It was...
I think that's what I was looking for too, because I was stumbling over who was the Ark Master. Is that light on? No. Who was the fucking one with the Ark? And that threw me off for a loop anyways.
Yeah. No,
so,
I always pictured him with the gray beard, right?
The fucking the 3 ducks that are older now, like 5-6 weeks or something like that. I think they're like 6 weeks this weekend. Pretty sure all 3 of them are males, because I have not heard a quack yet, and the females quack like hens quack and drakes fucking whisper. So
really,
and yeah, I've got out there with the duck call, and when I get them excited and all sorts of stuff, and all I hear is like a wheep wheep wheep, and nothing from any sort of quack. So I'm like, man, and like I keep thinking I'm hearing a quack every now and then, and I'm just not getting it. So I don't know. Hopefully I'm early yet, and maybe one of them is going to quack. But I have 3 males. But I have 4 ducklings in the brooder right now. I have 1 in the incubator and 1 about to burst out of the egg. So I have at least 6 more, I think. So that's doing good. And that's what I was trying to do, is turn into the incubator right now in the camera. But I can't see what's going on, if it actually hatched or not.
Incubator camera? That's
no, I turned we have a nanny cam thing, and I just turned it to face the fucking incubator.
Yeah, who needs to see what the kids are doing?
Nah, kids aren't home right now. Ducks are
That's
hatching.
right. Ducks are happy. That's awesome. So, I mean, you need at least one female. That's what we're hoping for, right? We're hoping for more, obviously, but a minimum of one.
Yeah, and if the chances of having 9 ducks now and not one of them being a fucking female or a like, I gotta have it done at this point.
That's some Irish ass.
Call it duck sausage fest.
Yeah. So that'd be ducking nuts.
Oh, there you go. I saw that you also have a Batman duck, which is amazing.
Yes, and I renamed it Batman, and I was like, Quackman does sound kind of fucking funny, but what if it's a girl and I wanted an ambidextrous name? So
left-handed or right-handed?
Yes.
Cool.
We normally discriminate against the lefties days, with our names. You know what I mean?
What else?
Like, I know Chris is really difficult for the left-handed people out there. So,
just didn't want to get gender specific. That's all.
No, I know. We got you. What'd you go with?
I couldn't fucking remember. That's the thing. I don't fucking know. I had it tits too. I was like, fuck, man. It's got to be like, the Riddler. I think it was. Because the Riddler actually does wear like this mask, and it just does this kind of mask. And I was like, maybe it could be like the Riddler, or maybe we'll call it Robin. And I don't know, man.
That doesn't bring up visions.
I think
I'm
back to Batman because everyone's calling it Batman now. Because I was just like a fucking Batman. So
I do like that though.
You could always switch it to girl because there was Batgirl.
Yeah, so there was.
Did I ever? At one time, before Captain
Batgirl now.
Before Captain America, I adopted another corgi, and I named the first name that she had. It was another German Shepherd corgi mix. The first name that we gave her was Batgirl, and it lasted about 3 hours because we went from the pound to a store to get like a new leash and stuff like that, and then we went to a park and we were calling her. And it just sounded like we were calling her a bad girl for everything that she did. So we looked like complete assholes at the park. Like, come here, Batgirl. Come here, Batgirl. Like, so we quickly abandoned that and went more pirate themed with the Savvy. No, we went Savvy. And then a couple of weeks later, I adopted Old Man Captain America, and became the only one I cared about. So after that, relationship inevitably broke down. I kept the beautiful dog. So I won.
Winning.
Yeah, I was very good. But yeah, sorry. I just think like you cannot name something Batgirl. You think it's cool until you have to actually either say bad girl and you're like, oh, that's confusing as shit. Or other people look at you like you're not already crazy enough yelling at a duck. Batgirl, Batgirl.
Come here, Batgirl. Yeah. I already am crazy. Like the neighborhood already looks at me like the fucking crazy guy. So it's fucking hilarious. I don't even care. I do sit there and yell at the ducks. And then I am out there with my fucking duck call quacking to my goddamn ducks.
That's amazing.
That's insane. Luckily for the podcasters listening, I don't have it in the room here because I would fucking pull it out like a jackass.
It's not crazy. It's eccentric, right? You're just an old man. People don't need to know how old you actually are. They could think that you're a non
old enough. My fucking son, my oldest son, graduated fucking high school yesterday, so that's fucking old enough.
Howling's over there, like, brother. I've had this done a couple times.
Yeah, that's an old story for me now.
I was gonna say you've had college now, right?
My
adopted I have 2 kids out of college.
Yeah, I mean my daughter's fucking out of college.
That's true. Yeah, it's your first boy. It's your first boy out of high school.
Son, yeah.
Yep. What'd you do? Did you tell him enlist and I'll never talk to you again, or did you give him good advice, or what'd you do?
I said,
see you at home, son.
Yeah, see you later.
Fair enough. I guess the graduation isn't as big of a deal as it used to be. Like back in my grandfather's day, it was like, well, see ya. Like, gotta do something.
Yeah, gotta figure it out. Now it's just like,
you ain't staying in this house, bro.
I mean, come on, realistically, but no, he's autistic anyway, so it's basically we're just gonna fucking
that's
have
true.
To figure out something for him, probably a stay at home. He's not gonna drive any. he can't even ride a bike. He doesn't like that much. So, he's functioning. He just doesn't have any interest in doing the shit. So
he just has his quirks, man.
Yeah. So we just had to figure it out. I don't know. That's one to be the ones that I'm probably not going to be able to give the fucking boot to, but everybody else, motherfuckers, you're on the chopping block. You hear me?
I like how you also said maybe not. Like, I think it's a pretty good reason not to. You're like, but I'm going to leave my options open.
I looked at the youngest one who was at the graduation with us. I look at her and I go, fucking 10 years, you motherfucker.
I look at a 6-year-old all the time like that.
Because my sister is significantly younger than me. I often would look at my parents before she turned 18 and I'd be like, man, if only, 15 years ago, you guys could have been done. And they're just like, mother, like whenever she did something wrong too, I would just remind my dad, like, man, could have been done yesterday.
Could have been done after me. You remember that?
Yep. Or, it's in his particular case, he batted 2 for 3, right? He could have done better on the last one, but things happen. But had he not, perfect. I'm just kidding.
I told my fucking sons the best part of them wiped off on the sock.
Happy Father's Day. What'd you get?
A fucking pizza oven I had to buy for myself.
I know. But that brings up such an amazing segue in. We've got everybody's subjects that I want to hear from touched. We got ducks with Johnny. We got lights with Howling. Now Stony. Here comes the food review. Johnny, how'd you like the pizza friggin' oven?
It got we were doing thunderstorms, so it was kind of a pain in the ass. I was hoping to have both the ovens set up next to each other and kind of figure it out and do side by side, but the gas uni is blazing fucking hot. You can't turn your back on it, man. It's fucking roaring. And the other one you can turn your back on. So it was kind of nice, but you end up I just couldn't keep it fucking hot enough that day because I didn't want to fuck around, but it was the first day actually running it because I burned it off the night before and then that day I ran it. But I do like the wood fire. It's actually fun to cook on. It's not just turn it on and fucking go. It's fun to fire the fucking I was doing a cross with charcoal to really get the fucking heat in there and then throwing wood chunks and bark and shit and just trying to flame it up but yeah, that gas one, you could see the fucking flame roaring across the top. You got fucking minute and a half, and that thing fucking tops. And then the other one, I was getting 3 to 5 minute pies. And I had a couple that were getting really, really, really hot, but it was just trying to pay attention to that and fucking heat it up and cook a pie. It was.
And you were cooking pepperoni pizza?
No, margaritas.
God damn it. I was hoping to catch you slip.
There's a whole style. There's a whole regional style of doing coal-fired pies. Clearly, it's in coal mining areas because it was the best, easy, cheap fuel to use for it. Most coal-fired pies, or anytime you do that wood-fired component, I always tell people, I always call them flashers. So I used to do a lot of work in wood-fired pizzas. I had one on the farm, big one. We used to do crusts and everything. Biggest key is the deck, right? Getting your deck heat. So that's my first question: is did it hold heat in the bottom deck, or was all the heat kind of just above it?
No, no, the deck was pretty good, because it did crust over nice. I was able to turn it relatively quickly.
Because that was
getting hot as well.
That's what I loved about wood-fired ones is if you started to cool your deck down, you could always rake your coals over, let them sit, hot fire for 10, 15 minutes, reheat that deck back up, brush everything back over, clean off your deck, and you can continue firing pies over and over and over. The trick I always say is I call them flashers. So they're only if you take your wood and you're splitting it down, trying to use your center bits of wood so you don't want any bark because it'll pop. And the further out from the inside that it is, the more chance of popping, and then you'll end up with cinders and shit on top of your pies. The key is you get that center part of the wood as much as you possibly can. and then split those down into about like thumb size pieces, like the thickness of your thumb. And I called them flashers. And so when I'd get a pie about 70-80% of the way through, I'd pop a flasher into it. And if I really needed to get a quick flame on it, I'd almost like kind of shave it down with my knife a little bit and create a little bit of like tender off of it. Throw it right on top of the fire, and you'll get that quick flame. That quick flame will throw another 80 degrees, 90 degrees into the top oven. And so you can finish your browning, your cheese, your browning, your meats, or whatever on the top of your pie. So heat that deck first. Once you get that going, just keep those flashers and pop one onto it. But those having charcoal going on the side, because really those flashers will increase heat, but they also put a lot of great flavor in too. Because at that last little bit, you'll caramelize, the Maillard happens, and you're going to get a bunch of the like natural smoke that comes right off the top of it. So coal firing is a really cool way of doing it, to be honest with you, especially in the smaller ones like that.
I did not realize you could nerd out like that.
I was just about to say, Howling, I have never once had a pizza cook like that, want to cook a pizza like that, or have any interest in a pizza oven ever. But I was enthralled by that conversation like I had no right to be.
Well, like, so the one that I worked on was a 48-inch deck. So it was a 4-foot deck, right? So that's a good, this is a good size deck. And we built it. We built it by hand.
You could cook Megan in that shit.
You totally could. You totally could.
Because I've been wanting to fucking build one in my yard, to build a fucking in-yard fucking right in the center of my garden.
Yeah, I built one.
What do you put in the bottom? Like, what is your pizza stove?
Fire brick. Yep. Just
tighten together and
oh shit. Fire brick pushed together real tight, so there's zero in between it. And it's all about leveling. So I did leveling sand, like 2 inches of leveling sand, and then I pounded it flat, leveled it, and then put in like a finer grit sand to really stabilize it.
This is for your firebox.
No, yeah, this is for underneath the deck, right? Yep. So, and then I did, then I laid the stones in, and then built a lip around it from vertical ones. So I laid them flat, horizontal, and then a vertical lip. So it had like 2 or 3 inches. That was the base deck.
Now, what were all what were they all resting on? All the fire blocks? Was it like a metal grating to fucking put them all on?
I built a brick chimney of size. It was about 3 foot, 4 foot, and it kind of came up a little bit, right? So it wasn't straight. But it was just a round brick and mason. And then we did reinforced rebar. And then the last like 4 or 5 inches before we laid down like a flat metal pan, we filled it up with like broken glass, bottles and shit like that helps to insulate, and some other bricks and whatnot. And then we had the sand, or we did the pan, then the sand, leveling sand, a finer sand, and then we dropped onto it the deck. And then once that settled out, then we built the positive form, and then started like putting clay and mud and all that sort of shit around it.
Holy shit, that's fucking sweet.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool project. We did it all like by hand. We wet sand, made the bell, because you have to have certain dimensions of height relative to the back so that you get a proper airflow. That's what most home oven makers don't take into account, is you've got to have the right draw happening so that you'll cycle oxygen into the Roman style of oven. So it was like rounded, and it was like this was the one that I built off my backyard. It was like maybe 3 foot, 4 foot, 3.5 foot, I think at the most, was the deck. And I could build a fire in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then have my deck temp at like 500. And it would hold that at that temp for probably, I don't know, a good hour or so. But the one that we had at the farm was a commercial bell, because we needed to do true food service out of it. So it was a cast fire brick bell, and then we built all the masonry around it, and then built it off the back of the farm store so that we could do a pizza night. And then we were doing pizza crust. But we would do pizza crust on Thursdays. We'd bake like 150, 200 crusts, and we'd
sell the crust.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I'd get there at 7:00 in the morning, start chopping wood, fire it by 8. And by 10:30, we could turn out 150, 200 doughs, just me and one other dude. So I love the wood fire pie. I mean, we would do
this is going to sound like a stupid question, Stoney. What else can you cook in a pizza oven?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used it as a secondary backup oven. So like one of my favorite things, we had a small one right off the back of the farm kitchen, and I would build that fire, get it really hot inside, nice and insulated, and then I'd load it up with corn that I had just like cut the tops off and the bottoms and soaked in water overnight, and I'd seal up the oven and leave it for like 6, 7, 8 hours, and then that was my corn on the cob for one of the weddings. You know, they were just
that sounds phenomenal. Holy shit.
I tried to convince her to let me do steaks on mine the other night, and she
can. Yeah, we did taco nights in there because you can saute in there too. Like as you know, I've worked in wood-fired ovens in professional restaurants, and typically you are doing something in a pan inside of them. So a lot of them will actually have a little heavy metal grate that hangs out on one side of the oven that you can sear things, you can roast. So I mean, it is an oven. It's no different than an oven, and you can saute directly, like a pan on the deck will heat up enough where you can saute and roast and that sort of thing onto it. So there's the old there's a lot of like traditional old stews. There's one of them. There's a potato called the boulanger potato, and it is by far like so incredible. So you cut it concertina style. You cut it very thinly, but you don't cut all the way through. And then you throw in veal stock or beef stock and beef fat and thyme and peppercorns and some butter. And they called them boulanger potatoes because it was the baker's wife would wait till the ovens were done for the day, and then she would go put a roast or potatoes or something in the oven and then slow cook them for the rest of the day. And that would be dinner, right? Because the oven would slowly stay hot. So there were things that I would do, like overnight stews or whatever, that I would, when we were done firing, I would braise a bunch of, sear a bunch of stuff in the wood fire, then get it into a braise type mode, covered up, seal it up, and just
wood fired seared duck confit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so you can make it sound less fancy, I'd be more inclined to eat it, but that does sound very good.
And that's where I would get those flash sticks from, because in theory you can keep yourself, like you can keep hickory, or you can keep a certain, whatever your favorite wood is, and you can have like, your coals going, and with whatever, the coals they'll have some of that wood aromat, but they've already cooked off a lot of it. There's a lot in that initial smoke, the terpenes that come out of that initial smoke. So to throw in like hickory chips or something like that on top of your charcoal, even if you're just grilling or whatever, you'll add another dimension of flavor into it. And there's, all those woods create a little bit of difference in flavor of terpenes as well too. So I mean, you can go down the whole fucking rabbit hole between mesquite and hickory and cherry and apple.
I was just going to ask you, do you change on, you probably change what wood you use based on what fucking animal you're.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, and some of it is just like, if you can get your hands on mesquite, it stands out so much that you almost got to play off of it with flavor, right? You gotta.
It's so bitter, man.
That's why I like cherry wood is a real subtle kind of sweet wood, or a kind of earthiness to it that's a little bit different than something like mesquite that just it's like, it's kind of like a reverb pedal, you know what I mean? Like it's there, you can't miss it. And something like cherry or applewood is real subtle. It's just that sort of in the kind of harmonious, and it gives you a lot more room for flavor too.
There's one thing I'll say for apples that I know: they are always very subtle.
Yes. Well, there's some that are really quite brash.
What a brash
speaking
hole.
of, before I advance this any further, I feel like we've done a nice selection of topics, but I do want to hear about your personal gardens. So we can go shotgun style. You don't got to go into too much detail. Just what's going on. What's your highlight? Howling. You've got quite a fight going on in your blue tent. So I'm excited to hear you describe it.
That one's going pretty well. So I got the Mass Medical Blue Lotus and the Sin City Blue Power. And I got them to, I'm amazed because the Blue Lotus is supposed to stretch like almost 3x, like some phenos. And I definitely see like this one would have stretched quite a bit, but I was able to keep the canopy flat with the Blue Power. And yeah, cleaned them up recently. It's, I think, today's day 22 of flowers. So they're, other than like the 5-week top dress I'll do and maybe a tee here or there, it's on cruise control. I'm done with that tent for a while. So yeah, that's going good. I got the Alebrije and the 2x4 going well. That's the 90 micron cross with tangy rainbows. I'm growing specifically for, hopefully it'll be dried and processed for the pop-up in September. But I said I would grow that in hopes to bring it. And then I got my spiteful chicks growing in the other 2x4. And they are growing in spite of me and doing pretty well.
Well, that's good, man. I'm excited for all of it. The last two don't really care about. Johnny, we talked briefly on your having to remove all the males, which wise decision. You didn't want to piss off everybody around you, or just seed full your medicine. But your last tangy,
yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll leave a male just long enough for it to open, just and hit my shit, and then fucking get rid of it. But nah, I need medicine. So I'm just letting the females grow in there. And when I counted before coming in here to record, it was like 17. So there's 17 females in there. So
I love it. See a green, baby.
Yeah, they're kind of all centralized towards the center too. So they're going to have some room to kind of fall out towards the edges. So it's going to be kind of nice. And then the tangies probably should get watered. It's been a fucking day or 7.
I thought you were chopping them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ready yet.
Oh, were you going to chop something else? Maybe I'm just mistaken.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know.
What day are they on? Do you not know?
Fucking, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. You flipped a while ago.
But then I had those fucking plants that have been fighting for their lives forever. That, like, there was this Humboldt mystery fucking seed that popped up out of nowhere. Well, that one fucking apple spice seed fucking was not, like, survived without cotyledon leaves, and it was just the stem for I don't even know what the hell, man.
The miracle plant.
Anyways, I just before recording also just uprooted them out of the earth box and put them into a like 1 3-gallon pot because they're like intertwined. I tried to separate them and put them into like 2, but they're intertwined. So I put them in a 3-gallon pot outside of the earth box because I'm going to gift them to somebody to try and plant outside. So if they survive, I'm going to give them to somebody and be like, all right, man, grow these outside.
Just see what happens.
Yeah. So, and then just refire that earth box up. So that's my rapid fire. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
I don't know if they're going to survive that uprooting, but we're going to find out.
Well, you needed the earth box.
They survived everything else. So.
Yeah. Usually after that's much surviving, you know.
Yeah. I'm just sick of the fucking things, man. I've fucking, they're in a 2x4. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with them? They're fucking huge now at this point. And they've been vegged, re-vegged, flowered, reflowered. They've been through a lot. So it's just like, I'm just going to give them to somebody and say, put these in the fucking ground, give them a lot of food and let them go fucking wild, man. See what you get. Have a ball. Because normally I have cuts and shit, but I couldn't take cuts for shit this year. I was losing everything this year. I just fucking, man, what a year. So
I think a lot of people had that kind of success with a lot of their endeavors, but upwards and onwards, my friends. Stoney,
replant. Time to replant.
Yep.
Do you have any idea?
Chopped and bucked.
I tried to nail myself down today, and I'm hoping to get the room turned around in the next 4 days. So everyone kind of knows how that goes. You can have your lineup, but it may change down to the last very minute. But Night Owl Magic Castle.
Okay.
been looking forward to running that one. I tried it once and didn't take off in a smaller format. I tried to do a little bonsai of it. Spice Melange. Also from Night Owl. That's the Outlier Z and the Mango Isle.
5-1 Bake's one of his favorites.
Yeah. And I might have run it before, so that's going to be my wild card. Yeah, I thought so, but I loved it so much, so I may run it again. Master Bruce. Everyone, I had to get my little thing out. So it's the banner with the blue power. So the Bruce banner crossed with the blue power. I'm stoked with that one.
Little howling connection there.
Yeah, well, I had that one blue power that I ran, the Sin City, the straight blue power, and it is turning into, the last bits of it have been in like little salads because it's so incredible. So I'm really anxious to see how yours comes out, Holly. I'm going to run the sugar cookies, the F2 that came with our t-shirts. So
hell yeah.
T-shirt up there just above your head. Regs. So it's been a little while since I've ran regs. It's probably been a year or so since I've ran. So I'm going to probably throw those in the big earth box in the small tent and throw 4 of them in there and see what kind of chaos realm reigns.
Hell yeah.
And then last round, or the last one for the round is I got some of the Cosmic Puppy that I've been smoking on. That is fucking dynamite howler. And whatever came, those little freebies that came with those, and I'm sure I can find out what they actually are, but that's going to be my BGG installation for this round for sure.
Hell
yeah. So that's where I'm at least for today.
As of today. Yeah. But that's a good tentative plan.
Yeah. And then all the other stuff that I harvested 2 weeks ago is now in smoking and in cure, and Purple Strawberry Popsicle definitely led
a fucking seed.
Definitely led the pack in this one. Kim Labrada is incredible. Cosmic Puppy is awesome. Hoodoo Mama Juju is definitely one of my favorite purples that I've grown. So all sorts of fun stuff.
You still going with what did you say was your favorite? I just instantly forgot.
Purple Strawberry Popsicle.
Yes. Okay. Good news. Good news.
Yeah, for sure.
She was on the larger side, right? Yeah.
Massive, like above the light growing.
Hell to the yes.
Yeah, huge yield on her too. Like great branching, great nodal spacing. Very, very happy. Like overall, the best one in the room for sure.
Well, that's good news, man. Thanks for sharing your garden with me, guys.
Can't wait. Hopefully they'll all be ready for. I haven't even done the math yet. If it's even possible to be ready for our event. Probably not. I'm not good with math. No.
Howling, shaking his head now.
He had his dead drop date. So.
Yeah, I don't. So the autos, no, because 84 days from today is September 13th.
Damn it!
So, no, you wouldn't even have time.
Oh, that's my excuse too.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we're an autoflower away from fucking meeting up, boys.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Pretty much.
There we go.
I guess I'll touch briefly on my garden. Thank you also very much for asking. No, I have the sunny Tijuana in both my earth box and then in a solo that's got the bottom cut out into the DIY. And that was sharing with India's Verdes, and I had great pulls India's by 91 grapefruit. I had 3 of those. All 3 were dudes, unfortunately. So the one of them showed like 3 or 4 days earlier than the other 2. And so I cut it and I started training the other one over to kind of replace its spot. And it started showing and I was like, God damn it. And so the third one, I was thinking, okay, I'll take this one over. And then it showed like the next day. So it opened a lot of space in the tent. It's probably for the better. You know, I plant multiples exactly for this reason, right? Because I almost always overplant. And then the Sour Delica and the Odin Express in my other tent are cruising. The Sour Delica is wild, man. She's staying squat right now, but she's doing that thing where she starts throwing out so many side branches and it just takes her time and it goes. So I'm excited about that. Quick and easy.
That's how we like it.
Always. I'm so simple. Yeah, it was disappointing having to cut so many males because I always like growing my friend's stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, with freaking these autoflower regs, it's so fucking obvious.
Like, and it happens so
it's
fast.
Not like the stress. It's not like the stress with photo periods, like the weight and the fucking. It's like with these,
I wish
it's especially like when you have a full fucking bed of them. It's just like, all right, you go out there every day and you just kind of look like.
I was gonna say you don't have time to fall in love with them.
Exactly. Like it's so quick and it's not even a worry. It's just like, yep, see ya, bloop, and that was easy. Okay.
I had trouble. I ran the Drowsy CrossFit 91 grapefruit from Grateful, and I did 3 of them next to each other, and it was actually the tallest, most vigorous one was the female, and the other 2 were males. It was like the opposite. It totally threw me through a loop. I'm like, shit, that thing's gonna be a male.
Now you got to remember this: they're autoflowers.
Yeah.
So this is what I was seeing too.
So
like I had that all of these fucking. This is what I'm getting at with autoflowers. All of these, all different strains and yada yada yada, but they're all autoflowers and all different. The fucking last male I just pulled was fucking 6 inches, 8 inches tall, maybe.
Yeah,
because it's just an autoflower. It stunted on something or whatever and was behind everybody else. But it's
my that logic went in reverse
rule
for me
of thumb
too.
Is most of them that I pulled were the fucking tall ones, but I was going through them all and they weren't all the tallest in the whole fucking bunch of them. But they were.
I will just say
males.
I will just say it's just you have to be more careful because, like you said, you can't. Like I had one that was the smallest by a long shot, and I was like, normally that would be the female, but you can't. You just have to be careful. You can't assume because there's just a possibility with regs. You know, it is what it is. It's fun.
Word, they're fun. They actually are fun. I might fucking do a little more like. This is kind of easy, man. I might just take a bunch of fucking
regs are
just fill in fucking beds with them, man. Let's fucking let it go, man. Just have fucking sea of greens and pull the one or run the ones that do the best. Fuck it.
It's literally the perfect way for you to grow because it's chaos and you're just letting the strong survive. But you have enough numbers on your side because it's harder to say let the strongest survive, plant 3 seeds, and go well. Neither of those 3 were fucking strong.
Exactly.
So that sucks. Exactly. But gentlemen, I have a question, and this question is actually somewhat related to the conversation today. Since you all 3 are much more experts at this than me, I am intrigued to hear your answer. But what is your favorite barbecue item? I'm leaving it that empty in general on purpose. It can be something you place on your barbecue, or it could be what you would consider traditional barbecue items or barbecue fare. So a watermelon would technically count, but I would think less of you. Johnny.
Pulled pork sandwich.
Damn, that's a good one. Damn, now I'm hungry. I should not have done this before I ate. Do you have any elaborate? Do you want to elaborate on? How do you make your pulled pork
shoulder,
sandwich?
man? Put it in the fucking smoker. Add barbecue sauce if you want. You don't always have to. You could put anything. You could just put fucking mustard on it when the thing's fucking done in the smoker. It's just that good. Just juicy fucking pork shoulder coming out of the smoker. Just fucking falling apart. Put it on fucking in between 2 slices of bread and enjoy.
Yeah, bark.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and save my answer because I'm gonna let Stoney go last, of course. Other than chicken, because I don't eat much meat, I'm going pulled pork because, as Johnny said, it is fucking ideal. Howling, that leaves you.
Shit, I have 2 different things I like. I'll go with one. Ribs.
Okay, what kind of rib?
So they're just the baby back ribs. It's something. I cook them in a way that, I mean, it's gonna sound gross because everyone wants like the slow cooked wrapped ribs on a smoker, but I learned from
beef ribs.
Huh? No, these are pork.
Like beefs. Oh,
no, these are pork.
That's what I meant with what kind. By the way, I said, don't know very much. I'm just trying to figure out which animal.
I don't even know if I've had beef.
So you're a pork rib.
Yeah. So pork ribs. I cook them the way my late father-in-law taught me that his whole family liked, which is they get boiled first, which I know that's the disgusting part. And you think it'll be disgusting, but I make up for it in the end. But it's boiled with a bunch of seasonings like onion powder, garlic powder.
That's how I did it in the Army.
Mrs. Dash, celery salt, and there's a couple other things tossed in. And then you boil them for like, I just learned that I cut them into like 4 ribs each in a pot. And then if I can grab them with the tongs and they kind of flop a little bit, then they're tender enough to then go take them to the grill. And so I like to then over like lump charcoal, really super hot. I like to get a crust on them with no sauce or anything yet, just a crust on them. And then I do a really thin layer of barbecue sauce and I let that caramelize on it. And then once that happens, I'll take them to the side and then I'll really slather them up with some barbecue sauce. And I love them. They're so delicious. And then I take them like, I don't like eating ribs off the bone, so I'll just break it apart and put them on like a sandwich. It's almost like a really easy way to make like a pulled pork sandwich.
Pork sandwich?
Yeah, except without the 13 hours of smoking a shoulder. Like I get it done in 2 hours. Or what's really great is save it, and then the next day fire up a cast iron pan on the grill and layer it with tortilla chips and make nachos and crumble up the rib on top, and it's just. It's so good.
Damn, that sounds good.
I'm fucking stupid hungry now.
I know. I'm so hungry. I will give an honorable mention to sausages. They don't often get the love they deserve.
Yep.
But Stoney, chef us away, my dear friend.
Well, I'll take the untraditional path since you guys went all protein because the quickest, easiest one for with barbecue, but it's not my main answer, is Dr. Pepper. Specifically the Texas Dr. Pepper, right? Because that's just the standard with everything. But I think the other standard that I have, because I did about a year's worth of work in a barber crawl, just traveling around trying to see as much barbecue places as I could, and I always got sort of the 3 meat, which is the standard. But the key to everything for me was really the sides, and I always had 2 standard sides: coleslaw and baked beans. And baked beans is where I would say is probably my one true standard side with all barbecue. Now my baked beans that I love the most, more than likely, are Bush's baked beans from a can. The key that you get to these when they call them like the smokehouse is that they will take all of the scrapings off of their cutting board, all of that fat, all those little bits and caramely bits of yummy scrummies that have been chunks of bark, and they just keep adding it into the pot. So like adding those into sort of smoky barbecue Bush baked beans that are super sweet and caramely, have all of that saltiness from the bark and the smokiness from the meat and the charcoal burning and all of that sort of flavor that just slowly simmer until they can almost fall apart, but still maintain the actual bean itself. Like, it's not the ones that are like still slightly translucent. You can tell they haven't cooked long enough. But whenever I go to a barbecue spot, one of the key things that I rate them on is their beans and how well that they actually take care of them. Are they just like, oh, we have them and we just scoop them into a little styrofoam thing to get you on your way? Or are they using it smart? Are they utilizing all that extra fat and delicious flavor that they're most throw away? So yeah, I'll go back to baked beans is my favorite too. Barbecue.
Solid choice. And I think about the 3rd time that you have made beans sound wonderful on this podcast. And as a bean enjoyer, I applaud it. We need more propaganda for the bean movement.
Yeah, it definitely reminds
Gentlemen,
me throughout the evening.
Yes, you are a literally poet laureate, like I have self-proclaimed so many times. But gentlemen, I have a question. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about? Didn't I miss anything?
No.
Johnny? No. Howling? No. Stoney?
Well, we got quite a bit today. It's a good one.
I know. And then we can get into the easiest part. Any plugs? Howling, do you have anything to plug?
Nope.
Excellent. Stoney, anything on this early morning?
Early morning. Yes. Yeah, that's probably it. So I'm plugging you guys for being patient this weekend. We wanted to get
Nonsense.
No.
So thank you guys for.
We don't need to get plugged.
No.
I'm not
Johnny
plugging
always
you.
needs to get plugged.
I'm not plugging you, dude. Okay. All right. I will not plug you.
He shouts as he's plugging you.
Plug.
Thank you.
But
I'm putting a
Johnny,
lock on my tent.
Anything for you? Can you say no now?
Yes. Goodbye.
All right. Adios, amigos.
Later.
See you guys.